"Hello, Snow White," the prisoner said softly. "Hello, stepmother," Snow White replied with a nervous quiver. "I hope you are well." Although Snow White had rehearsed exactly what she wanted to say, she was now finding it nearly impossible to speak. "I heard you are the queen now," her stepmother said. "It's true," said Snow White. "I've inherited the throne as my father intended." "So to what do I owe this honor? Have you come to watch me wither away?" her stepmother said. There was such authority and power to her voice. It was known to make the strongest of men melt like ice. "On the contrary," Snow White said, "I've come to understand." "To understand what?" her stepmother asked harshly. "Why?" Snow White hesitated. "Why you did what you did." And with this finally said, Snow White felt a weight lift off of her shoulders. She had finally asked the question that had been so strongly on her mind. Half of the challenge was over. "There are many things about this world that you don't understand," the stepmother said and turned to look at her stepdaughter. It was the first time in a long time that Snow White had seen her stepmother's face. It was the face of a woman who had once possessed beauty without flaw, and the face of a woman who had once been queen. Now, the woman sitting before her was just a prisoner whose looks had faded into a permanent, sorrowful scowl. "That may be," Snow White said, "but can you blame me for trying to find some sort of reason behind your actions?" The recent years of Snow White's life had become the most scandalous of the kingdom's royal history. Everyone knew the story of the fair princess who'd taken refuge with the 7 dwarfs while hiding from her jealous stepmother. Everyone knew the infamous poison apple and the dashing prince who'd saved Snow White from a false death. The story was simple, but the aftermath was not. Even with the new marriage and monarchy to occupy her time, Snow White found herself constantly wondering if the theories of her stepmother's vanity were true. Something inside the new queen refused to believe that someone could be so malicious. "Do you know what they're calling you out there?" Snow White asked. "Outside these prison walls, the world refers to you as the evil queen." "If that is what the world has labeled me, then that is the name I shall learn to live with," the evil queen said. "Once the world has made a decision, there is little anyone can do to change its mind." Snow White was astonished by how little her stepmother cared. But Snow White needed her to care. She needed to know there was some humanity left in her. "They wanted to execute you after they discovered your crimes against me. The whole kingdom wanted you dead." Snow White's voice faded to a faint whisper as she fought off the emotions building up inside her. "But I wouldn't allow it. I couldn't." "Am I supposed to thank you for sparing me?" the evil queen asked. "If you expect someone to fall at your feet and express gratitude, you've come to the wrong cell." "I didn't do it for you. I did it for myself," Snow White said. "Like it or not, you are the only mother I've ever known. I refuse to believe that you are the soulless monster the rest of the world claims you to be. Whether it's true or not, I believe there is a heart deep down inside of you." Tears rolled down Snow White's pale face. She had promised herself she would stay strong, but she had lost control of her emotions once she was in her stepmother's presence. "Then I'm afraid you're wrong," the evil queen said. "The only soul I've ever had died a long time ago, and the only heart you'll find in my possession is a heart of stone." The evil queen did indeed have a heart of stone, but not inside her. A rock in the shape and size of a human heart was on a small table in the corner of the cell. It was the only item the evil queen had been permitted to keep when she was arrested. Snow White recognized the stone from her childhood. It had always been very precious to her stepmother, and the evil queen had never let it out of her sight. Snow White had never been allowed to touch it or hold it, but nothing was stopping her now. She walked across the cell, picked it up, and curiously stared down at it. It brought back so many memories. All the neglect and sadness her stepmother had caused her as a child rushed through her. "All my life I only wanted one thing," Snow White said. "Your love. When I was a girl, I used to spend hours hiding in the palace just hoping you would notice I was missing, but you never did. You spent your days in your chambers with your mirrors and your skin creams and this stone. You spent more time with strangers with anti-aging methods than you did with your own daughter. But why?" The evil queen did not answer. "You tried to kill me 4 times, 3 of which you attempted yourself," Snow White said, shaking her head in disbelief. "When you dressed as an old woman and came to me at the dwarf's cottage, I knew it was you. I knew you were dangerous, but I kept letting you in. I kept hoping that you would change. I let you harm me." Snow White had never confessed this to anyone, and she couldn't help but bury her face in the palms of her hands and cry after saying it.